Hi everybody, so today we are going to be talking about lymphoma. So what is lymphoma? Well, as you see here, this ends in the word oma, or in the letters oma, so we know this is going to be a cancer. But what type of cancer is it? Well, this is going to be a cancer of the lymphocytes. Okay, cancer of lymphocytes. So what are lymphocytes? Lymphocytes are a type of white blood cell, right? These are a type of white blood cell. And there's two main types of lymphocytes. We have B cells. And basically what B cells do is these will actually go on to form something called plasma cells. And then what will happen is they will form antibodies. So that's the first one. And then the second type is T cells. And T cells, basically what these are going to do is they're going to activate the B cells. They're also going to attack cancer cells. And what they do is they also attack cells that have been invaded by pathogens. So these are the two main ones. Now there's another one we're going to talk about in a little bit called the natural killer cell, but these are going to attack cells that have been invaded by pathogens. So what's going to happen now when we have lymphoma? Well, in lymphoma, these cells will start to multiply uncontrollably. Okay, so they'll start to multiply uncontrollably. So let's take a look at this of where these can start. For the most part, they're usually going to start in a lymph node, and I've drawn the lymph node right here. But they're usually going to start in a lymph node, right? But they can start anywhere in the body. So other places that they can start could be like up in the tonsils. Usually it's the lining that's on the inside of the mouth that they can start at, the mucosa. But they can start in areas such as the tonsils. They can start in the thymus. Now remember, your thymus goes away after you reach puberty, right? But they can start in the thymus gland. This is usually where your T cells go to mature. They can start in the bone marrow. And they can also start in the spleen. But again, they can start anywhere in the body. The most common areas for these to start is going to be in the lymph node, as you see here. So here's what's going to happen, is it can be either B cells or T cells, right? Because we're just saying lymphoma. And what will happen is these cells will start to multiply. So these are my lymphocytes, and they start to multiply. And they start to multiply to start such large numbers that they actually start to clog these lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes will become swollen. Okay, so this is my lymphoma right here. That's basically the tumor that you see happening right there. Now again, this can be B cells or T cells at this point. So the lymph nodes become swollen, and then that's usually a sign that somebody has lymphoma. But again, it can start anywhere in the body, any of these areas or anywhere that has lymph tissue. So let's take a look now. There's two main types of lymphoma. There's going to be Hodgkin's lymphoma and there's going to be non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So we're going to take a look at these right here. Okay, so now let's take a look at Hodgkin's lymphoma and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So what's the differences in these? Hodgkin's lymphoma is going to affect B cells. It can infect or affect T cells, but usually not. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma can infect B cells, T cells, and another type of lymphoma that I mentioned earlier, which are called natural killer cells. So that's going to happen. That's one of the differences between these. Here's the other thing that's going to happen is we're going to get swollen lymph nodes in these, and it's usually going to be painless. We're going to have painless swollen lymph nodes in Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? However, if someone takes a bath, a hot bath, or they drink alcohol, what may happen is they may have pain in the lymph nodes. Over here, the lymph nodes may or may not be painful. Most of the time, they're not. Okay, so now, another thing that's going to happen, this is only going to infect lymph nodes above the diaphragm. So this occurs above the diaphragm. Whereas over here, and this is the diaphragm down here. So this is my diaphragm. Right, and we're going to go more into the lymph nodes in just a minute. This can infect anywhere in the body. So let's get into this a little bit more, because the next thing I want to talk about is how this spreads. This is going to spread by what we call contiguous spread. Contiguous spread means it's going to go right to nearby lymph nodes. So let's take a look at this. And let's say the lymph nodes here in the neck get infected, right? Now, Hodgkin's lymphoma can start with one or more lymph nodes. That's what it's usually going to do, and usually in the neck. But again, it can infect anywhere above the diaphragm. So here's my lymph nodes, right, that have become infected, and now they're starting to multiply. From there, it's going to go down to the collarbone, and the lymph nodes above the collarbone will be the next ones infected. So you see how it's close there? This is contiguous spread because it's going to the lymph nodes that are nearby. Then from there, it normally goes to the lymph nodes in the armpit. And that's basically how my Hodgkin's lymphoma is going to spread. Now, if we look over here, what's going to happen in my non-Hodgkin's lymphomas, let's say it decides to start in the neck. And again, it can infect one or more of the lymph nodes in the neck. And then it may go down to the bone marrow and infect there. Right? So it may come down and infect the bone marrow. It may come down and it may infect the spleen. It may go to the chest, right? So this is going to go in not such a predictable pattern. It's not in areas necessarily right next to it. Now, can it infect the lymph nodes right next to it? Sure. But it can also infect other areas, right? The other thing that's going to happen is, like we said, in lymphoma, we're getting cells multiplying. So what's going to happen is we can get a B cell. Let's say this is my B cell that's right here. And then what's going to happen is this B cell goes to multiply. And when it goes to multiply, if you recall from mitosis, the end stage is called cytokinesis. Sometimes what will happen in this is we will get a failure in cytokinesis, and you'll get a cell that we call a Reed-Sternberg cell. Okay, if you notice, it looks like an owl eye. So it's the Reed-Sternberg cell you get in Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? So if you see these, and again, this is not going to be very many. Like, you have all these cancer cells, and this is going to only be about 1%, but it's also known as an owl eye appearance. You can also see this in other conditions, such as cytomegalovirus. But you're going to get Reed-Sternberg cells in Hodgkin's lymphoma. Over here, there are no Reed-Sternberg cells. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is, because this doesn't go to the lymph nodes right next to this, this is called non-contiguous spread. And it basically just goes anywhere in the body. This will start to go anywhere in the body when it gets to the late stages, simply because of the fact that it gets into the bloodstream. This may travel in the lymph system, which it usually does, but it can also just travel in the bloodstream also and go throughout the body. So, symptoms. The early symptoms on this is going to be a fever. There's going to be night sweats. And then the last one, which is common in a lot of cancers, is unexplained weight loss. Okay, so that's it. Really quick review of lymphomas. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.